We previously analyzed Phase 1 of the massive winter offensive launched against our K-2 Battalion from 4 tactical axes. Now we dissect Phase 2 of this engagement unfolding in early February near Verkhno-Kamyanske in the Siversk district. This tactical operation proves that modern defense only succeeds when every combat element achieves absolute flawless synchronization. The combat theater showcases everything MTLB transports rigged, with improvised metal screens and neutralized hostile forces. We witness active FPV drone pilots and engineering squads clearing minefields, and naturally the relentless infantry of our 2nd Mechanized Battalion. But before we examine this main clash, we must first evaluate the tactical intelligence summary of last week's precision drone strikes executed by Madyar's birds teams in Donbas. March 5, 2026. An FPV drone tracks an enemy soldier like a predator cornering prey. Then, with calculated precision, it delivers the fatal blow. A target desperately attempts to find cover inside a ruined container. Dodging the incoming hit in a final desperate act, he grabs a wooden board and throws it at our asset. A direct impact, but entirely ineffective. The drone instantly recovers, re-engages, and seals his fate. The outcome is predetermined. March 6th. 2025, a wounded hostile leg severely injured desperately tries to evade the trailing drone, but escape is impossible. Elsewhere, an enemy infantryman is hunted across open ground. In a last futile stand, he fires at incoming drone. Ineffective. The kinetic equation never changes. March 6th, 2026 nightfall. Our Night Doctor squads deploy, seizing absolute control of the sector. Operating under complete blackout, utilizing thermal optics, they begin systematic interdiction of hostile infantry, hunting down the smallest signatures. No specialized camouflage can mask their body heat. No darkness can protect them. Methodically, targets are locked, engaged, and eliminated with surgical accuracy. Heavily armored targets are systematically destroyed. High-yield FPV strikes hunt enemy armor, whether on the move, concealed, or retreating. All are intercepted by lethal loitering munitions guided by expert pilots. If one impact isn't enough, a follow-up strike guarantees catastrophic kill. Each blast confirms drone warfare is now the dominant force on the modern battlefield. Heavy armor has no counter against high-speed, direct-impact aerial threats. A single moment of exposure, one exposed hatch, and the asset is lost. Here, an enemy combatant, attempting to seek cover behind a metal tub, naively believing he has evaded detection entirely. Elsewhere, a bunker entrance is left fatally exposed. Remaining targets from this mission are systematically hunted. Dismounted hostiles attempt frantic retreats, while others seek shelter inside abandoned civilian structures within the evacuated sector. Others crawl into shallow trenches and shell craters, desperately attempting to break line of sight, but there is no escape. Methodically, they are located, identified, and liquidated. Even those feigning death, hoping to blend into the surrounding debris, are targeted. Loitering sensors circle overhead, scanning every potential hiding spot. No stragglers remain, no survivors. Zero enemy presence is left active. Next, we systematically target and neutralize remaining enemy logistics, pickup trucks, motorcycles, and light armored platforms. Every vehicle becomes an active, vulnerable target, systematically reduced to blazing, twisted heaps of scrap metal, their combat utility permanently denied. From March 5th to 6th, 2026, the Madyar's 414th Special Brigade conducted 1,341 sorties, achieving 48 successful FPV strikes, outscoring 265 direct hits. Night operations pounded enemy positions 661 times using heavy bomber drones. Reconnaissance platforms identified 54 hostile targets, while 56 long-range strike operations were conducted. Operational results: 282 hostile targets destroyed, including 54 armored assets and systems. 93 enemy combatants neutralized. In Pokrovsk and Kurakov sectors, 18 hostile drones were detected. 14 shot down in Pokrovsk. 58 drones were detected in Kherson, 28 being destroyed. Overall, 76 hostile FPV drones were intercepted, neutralizing 42. Adversary command identified a vulnerability in our village defensive perimeter, launching a flanking assault led by a column of MTLB transports. Armored personnel carriers followed a lane cleared by leading tanks aiming to rupture the Ukrainian forward defenses. The defensive minefields failed to stop them. Their lead vehicle pushed forward completely unscathed by the blast. Zero damage. The second MTLB hit a mine but kept rolling. Ukrainian teams immediately engaged with anti-tank weapons. These armored hulls proved incredibly resilient. They pressed the assault, weathering direct hits from incoming FPV drones. The armor held, keeping their momentum alive. Meanwhile, our aerial reconnaissance spotted enemy reinforcement units preparing to deploy. As the threat materialized, our heavy bomber drone designated Bat was ordered into position for an aerial ambush. Hovering silently, it waited. The moment the enemy infantry began disembarking from their transports, the trap was sprung. As they advanced, we unleashed FPV drones and anti-personnel munitions. 2-kilogram fragmentation bombs shredded the dismounted troops, leaving them combat ineffective while survivors scrambled for cover. The assault wasn't over. Another enemy combat team pushed down the forest line. They closed in on the K-2 Battalion's forward trenches, forcing a brutal close-quarters engagement. Enemy troops lobbed grenades and improvised charges into our trenches, desperate to overrun the defensive line. Our defenders returned, suppressing fire, instantly slowing their tactical momentum. We could not use heavy artillery. The combatants were locked in a deadly close proximity embrace. Soon, the first casualties fell. Enemy infantry tried to leapfrog through the dense tree line, but our snipers pinned them down immediately. Combined with machine gun fire, their advance stalled. They tried throwing wooden planks over our Yoza wire to breach it. This wire is lethal. In harsh winter conditions, it becomes practically invisible, creating an exceptional tactical obstacle. It halts enemy infantry cold in deep snow. But with limited drone pilots available, our ground units faced a deficit. Our troops lacked adequate close air support here. The primary threat was unfolding in the complex urban terrain of the village. Urban warfare demands massive reconnaissance resources. Consequently, we committed the majority of our drone assets to those streets. The enemy tried to fortify local buildings. If they dug in, our counteroffensive would face massive resistance. Dislodging dug-in infantry in urban terrain is a bloody endeavor. Then enemy artillery entered the fray. Their commanders showed complete disregard for their own men. They blanketed their own frontline positions with high explosives. Our doctrine, however, strictly forbids such high-risk fire missions. We held our fire. In reality, these enemy units were remarkably well-equipped. Despite the propaganda labeling them untrained conscripts, we faced highly disciplined professionals on the ground. They advanced using bounding overwatch to minimize drone vulnerability, executing a highly coordinated fire and maneuver plan. They were stubborn. Instead of a full retreat, they fell back mere 20 meters before regrouping to strike again. As they prepared to launch another assault, our FPV strike teams seized control of the skies. We concentrated our drone assets, forcing the enemy to shift their entire focus to defensive air countermeasures. Their momentum died. Surviving the swarm became their sole priority. Under our relentless strikes, their casualties mounted. They frantically applied tourniquets to each other, clinging to survival. Tactical cohesion collapsed into absolute chaos. Their combat element was scattered across the sector, and their tactical communications had completely broken down. That was the moment we deployed the Vampire Heavy Bomber. Our FPV teams ran distraction patterns to cover it. The Vampire is a high-value asset, and losing one is a costly setback. It slipped in low, hugging the terrain. At low altitude, the Vampire released its 2-kilogram payloads, while our FPV drones executed coordinated strikes. A devastating kinetic hit by one of our pilots shattered their trench line, scattering the remaining defenders. Simultaneously, another FPV drone closed in rapidly from the right flank. A wounded enemy soldier and the comrade trying to evacuate him were neutralized in a single strike. The assault force was utterly decimated. Out of 5 combatants, only a single survivor tried to flee. In his panic, he made a fatal error, leading our sensors directly to 3 more hidden soldiers. Our morning intel indicated this squad was composed of 8 men, yet only 5 reached the objective. The missing 3 had likely gone to ground along the approach route, allowing us to hunt them down individually. We eliminated them before they could join the main force. The remaining soldier lay wounded from a precise drone strike. Simultaneously, the enemy launched a secondary assault from a different vector, an 8-man unit attempting a breakthrough. They advanced toward our defenses, splitting their assault element into 2 smaller teams, 1 pair and a group of 6. While the larger element stalled, the 2 lead soldiers managed to reach the K-2 Battalion's forward trenches. But once they entered our pre-registered kill zones, they were neutralized. An FPV drone immediately struck the first target, wounding him. Despite his wounds, the soldier scrambled backward, desperately hunting for cover among the debris and uneven ground. Our drone operator adjusted his flight path, tracking him relentlessly. The hunt dragged on over several tense moments as the survivors struggled to escape. Finally, a second drone delivered a direct hit. Meanwhile, a heavily armored asset was detected advancing on our sector. Reinforced with protective cages, it headed toward the K-2 Battalion's lines, while our recon drone tracked its approach. We monitored its every move, relaying real-time telemetry to the pilots. Seconds later, a kamikaze drone was launched. It struck the armor at terminal velocity, triggering a blast. The vehicle kept rolling, but thick smoke began rising. With its thermal signature compromised, a second drone delivered another precision strike directly to the weakened hull. Damage intensified, yet the vehicle crawled forward, stubbornly refusing to stop. That was when a third drone arrived. It hit home, finally rendering the heavy armor completely inoperable. With their mobility destroyed, 4 surviving enemy soldiers were forced to bail out of the burning vehicle. They abandoned the burning transport and sprinted toward the tree line seeking cover. Through the dense trees, we spotted the survivors taking cover. Our first drone strike quickly targeted them. It eliminated 1 soldier whose luck had expired. Another survivor, heavily wounded in the leg, struggled to flee. Limping heavily, he was unaware that our drones were hovering directly behind him. We tracked his every movement. Then a drone executed another precise strike, aiming directly at him. As that target fell, another wounded soldier nearby survived the blast and desperately tried to escape. Alternating between running and crawling, he fought to survive, but our operators maintained relentless pressure. A drone closed in and detonated just meters away, triggering a massive, violent explosion. Against all tactical odds, the soldier emerged from the smoke still alive. Such survival is incredibly rare. Soon, another wounded combatant joined him. Both injured, they attempted a desperate buddy assist to escape the kill zone. Together. But our teams weren't done. Another drone locked onto their heat signatures, renewing the pursuit. The drone hovered overhead, calculating its final descent, waiting for the optimal moment to strike. A powerful blast ripped through the trees. When the smoke cleared, both threats were neutralized. By the operation's end, the K-2 Battalion had successfully repelled the massive assault neutralizing key elements. We accounted for 30 enemy dead and 5 destroyed armored vehicles despite heavy enemy artillery support. The adversary failed to gain any ground in Verokhamona. Their armored columns, improvised explosive vehicles, and storm infantry were systematically neutralized by our combined defense of minefields, FPV drones, and coordinated fires. Retreating troops were hunted, targeted, and systematically eliminated, ensuring our tactical perimeter remained entirely clear. Their planned breakthrough was utterly shattered, resulting in severe losses and zero operational gain for the enemy.